Hello, thanks for joining. I like this small group of people actually, it's quite suiting. We can have a discussion. So basically I'm here today to share some of our experience and trials and errors while developing and preparing for launch of our first game, CryptoDozer. Quickly, let me just go over our team. So I'll just quickly go over what we've been doing and what we're trying to do. So basically, what we see as gaming is similar to what's happened in any of the emerging industries, such as the PC market and also the mobile market. We see gaming would be the killer content. It will be the key enabler to actually accelerate mass adoption for any kind of platform. And this is something that we want to focus on and build up on in terms of positioning ourselves as a blockchain game developer. The core team at our company, we all have roughly over a decade, some more than that, in the traditional Korean gaming industry company. So basically, I myself am from NCSoft previously. Our CEO is from Netmarble, one of the major publishers and developers of mobile games in the Korean territory. And also, so we want to bring this experience and insight into the blockchain economy, and to hopefully help accelerate some of the adoption to a much wider audience than what it is today. And to help facilitate this adoption and to help other dApps emerge and be successful, we're trying to build a gaming service or a marketplace of sorts, where gamers, non-crypto gamers and also crypto gamers and the developers can actually meet and interact in a much more meaningful manner. Just a quick question, is my mic howling or is it just me? Is it good? Okay. Oh, another thing, they fixed the air conditioning, so things would be getting better as we go on. So basically, a quick intro of what we're trying to build. So there are three elements to the PlayDAP platform. So first, naturally, is game content. As gamers ourselves, and the years we've actually experienced and engaged with the gamers in the game industry, we want to start off with building a lineup of games. Starting from CryptoDozer, we want to release a portfolio of games that would actually have very active interconnectivity between them. So basically, you could start, anybody can come to our site, start off playing CryptoDozer, gain some collectibles or dolls, and they could actually move on to a second game, where they would gain an immediate advantage in terms of stats, new skill sets, and unique abilities that they wouldn't actually have if they were to start off from scratch. So this immediate advantage naturally incentivizes gamers to actually not only play just one single game, but move among a portfolio of games, and hopefully not just our games, but other third-party games that will hopefully join in. And these NFT features, we do believe, were to some degree, such as cross-promotional aspects in traditional markets, did exist, but it's something that wasn't really feasible or tangible in your traditional game markets. Sorry, I will get confused. That's my piece. Okay. And also to help mass adoption, we'll be providing a sort of a meta blockchain concept. So we'll be leveraging all applicable blockchain options in other platforms or other protocols. So basically, we do feel that gamers shouldn't be bound by a specific blockchain or specific currency. They should be able to use anything in their pockets, any kind of currency or cryptocurrency that they possess or would take interest in. So hopefully we will be expanding upon the types or the media that you can use on our platform. And we've also introduced fiat money payment options to help the non-crypto gamers naturally enter the crypto environment. So I'll talk a little bit more about this later. And finally, we hope to have a NFT marketplace in place. So people can not only transfer the experience from one game to the second game and the next game and so forth, but they could actually trade these characters, keys, items, and collectibles that they've actually gained from gameplay. And even in traditional market, there's always been a need for such a transaction. So you don't want to be bound by a single game. Not everybody plays a game for like 20 years. They move on from game to game to game. And this is something that we are very interested in, and this is something that your typical gamer would really need in a gaming experience. So there have been just one-on-one transactions previously, such as eBay, as everybody knows, and such as companies such as OpenSea that share their experience. But we want to expand this concept a little bit more, basically into cross-game trading capabilities. So basically not only just exchanging a certain item for money, we want to keep these game items and keep them in the pockets of the gamers themselves and not cash out from it. So in order to facilitate better usage among all of our portfolio of games that will be coming along. We hope to have all of this up and running by the end of the year. And so let me give you a quick intro of our first game. It's called CryptoDozer. And being very familiar with complex games such as MMORPGs, we didn't necessarily think, that would be the end picture that we want to portray, but we didn't want to start from a very complex mechanic of gameplay. So what we did from the initial ideation stage is that we wanted to find a very intuitive, very easy gameplay that anybody could actually understand. We didn't need to describe anything to them. So basically what we actually boiled down to was the notion that almost everybody has been to an arcade, a game center, a carnival or circus. And in these locations, you could very frequently find coin pusher games. So basically, it's gameplay where you drop coins into the machine and it will push out other coins. It doesn't really take a degree in math to actually understand this mechanic. So it came very natural for us, and it was a very good candidate after thinking about it for a while, because as I mentioned before, the gameplay is very straightforward. It's very intuitive. You throw coins in and you get coins back. And also the sessions are very short. We wanted people to click along in a very fast tempo. And there's a variety of prizes, such as, if you go to a typical carnival, you get watches, iPhones, figures, dolls, stuff that you can actually gain back from these machines. And naturally, on the blockchain platform, we could actually translate these items or collectibles into non-fungible tokens. So it was something very familiar, and people understood it very quickly. And just to give you a quick understanding of what the game's all about, I have a short clip here. Simple, your typical mechanics that everybody can understand. Coins tend to spill out on the sides, so we built wall mechanics that people could actually buy or collect or gain from the gameplay. All these dolls and figures are NFTs that people can exchange among themselves, and also we could buy back these dolls for them so they can actually cash out. Variety of coins with different mechanics. And as you can see, it's a very intuitive game design. Put coins in, coin comes back out. So when we launched CryptoDozer in March this year, we were quite surprised because it was a prototype for us. It was just a proof of concept that we built a blockchain technology, we built a game on top of that technology, and we were quite surprised that it was working so well. It's not massive numbers. The market is small right now, but we did reach #1 position for on a few occasions. We sort of dethroned CryptoKitties by accident, probably. We actually hit #1 in terms of NFT token transaction just today. So we are doing okay, but one thing that stood out from all the metrics was actually the amount of paying user conversion rate. So in your typical legacy games or your traditional game market, PC, mobile, all included, the paying user conversion rate is somewhere around 2 to 3%, and that's quite high. It's depending on what genre you're in. But we are seeing numbers average out on near the 17% mark. So we definitely felt confident that the market for paying users was already in the blockchain market, the crypto market. People wanted to spend what they had, and they wanted to spend it in a way that was fun to them. So basically, this was a very good signal that we were doing something right, and we're still seeing the numbers climbing right now. We're still a startup stage, so we don't really necessarily have the mass promotional marketing resources available, but we are catching on virally, and people are coming into our platform from many territories. We weren't really surprised that the US market was the biggest influencing market, and there was a majority of the traffic was coming from the US market. But we are also, gaining a very good share of traffic from UK, China, Japan, Russia, and Vietnam. And that was quite surprising because we only have 2 languages, English and Chinese. It wasn't a difficult game to understand, but we didn't prepare anything in advance. But people were very easily just entering the game, playing the game, and earning some money and having a good time in the process. So we hope to add more languages as we move on, and hopefully that will aid us in gaining momentum. So basic ideas into how we did this. Some of it may be very trivial to some of the more experienced developers, but we are seeing some of these things overlooked by a lot of dApp developers. So basically, there are very simple things that you could adopt, but we're not really seeing a lot of that happening in the dApp gaming space right now. And we, as game developers and gamers ourselves, we really focused on what games is. Games are just games. It's not really blockchain games. That's not different games from traditional games. Games are just games. They need to be fun. And we focus on what try to make games click, basically. So our main initiative from the start was basically to eliminate and minimize any kinds of initial hurdles of entry into the game. So starting with easy and intuitive gameplay, that, as you've seen in the movie clip, is very easy to understand. There's no need for sign-on. There's no need for upfront payment of any kind. There's no crypto requirements, wallets or digital wallets or any kind of crypto language understanding in order to actually enter a game. You can just come to our site, press play, and just start playing straight off. To get in a little bit more detail, so a typical crypto game that we've observed during the last couple of years most of them, a majority of them have digital wallets blocking the entry to the game. So basically, there are crypto requirements such as MetaMasks, other digital wallets that you need to have in advance in order to even just take a look at the game. You can see the info text and you can see the pictures, but you can't see the game until you have all of this in place. I mean, this comes really naturally to any crypto user or experienced user in that sense, but to a non-crypto audience, your typical gamer, it was just all alien, really. There was just so many blockers within the scope of dApp games that we wanted to eliminate and trying to optimize a lot of these aspects. So basically, wallet binding, for us, it just makes sense to leave wallet binding to the last possible minute. So basically, people can come in, just press play, enjoy the game. If they like it, they can stay. They can level up some, get a bunch of goods, get something that looks valuable, something pretty sparkly. And then we ask them very gently to bind MetaMask or digital wallets so they can actually keep those accounts, which could have the risk of being deleted if you, for example, go to another computer, for example. It won't be bound in that sense. So we ask people, if you want to keep your goods and continue playing our game, please bind the MetaMask. So in short, any entry shouldn't have any kind of hurdles in any typical gaming sense. And we should incentivize the gamers very gently and with potential valuable, very intuitive items, so they could be incentivized to learn about what MetaMask is, learn about how to integrate it, how to install it, and then hopefully your non-typical gamers can actually come into the crypto scene and become one of our customers in that sense. Another aspect that's really taken for granted is game testing. It is, for traditional game developers, it's a very important almost the most important process in terms of any game development. It's something overlooked by a lot of even the traditional developers, but we do, very strongly feel it's not an option, but it's a very required necessity in terms of building anything in terms of gaming experience. As a lot of developers falsely believe, they know their customers very well. They know what they will do, but that's, in a lot of cases, that's really not true. You have to look at how your gamers are moving, how they're behaving, and adopt and optimize accordingly. So basically, this is something that we take very heavily into account. It's a small team of developers, but we have the experience and know-how to be able to analyze what gamers are actually finding difficult and finding solutions in order to overcome those difficulties. So we went through a couple of rounds of focus group tests, a CBT, and I can't emphasize this enough. It is the most important stage of development, and ourselves have learned tremendously during that process. So we went through the focus group test with a pool of 40 non-crypto audience, and all of those were, not exactly, but half female, half male, and all of the 40 people members had different proficiency in gaming. So people were playing match-3 games, some people were playing MMORPG games, but we just wanted to test a wider group of audience as possible. And also, more than a majority of them are actually foreigners. So basically, people often mistake Korea being a major force in the crypto market, but the gamers themselves there have a lot of options. They have video games, they have mobile games, they have PC games. They've been playing for years and years. So they don't really have the need or the incentive to actually move to any crypto gaming. Which is, as everybody can admit, is a lot more inferior to your traditional gaming experience. So basically, we gathered a bunch of gamers that didn't know the crypto language or didn't have any experience in the crypto environment, and we tested among them. We couldn't exactly do A/B testing for every single gaming element that we had in development, but they were very important sightings, and we documented them and valued them very thoroughly, and came up with a vast amount of UX improvement in general. So the first major issue we encountered, as probably a lot of you may agree, was basically MetaMask. The concept of digital wallets itself was very unfamiliar. It was very uncomfortable. All you had to do was just log in, sign up, and play a game in traditional experiences. But here, you had to actually install a separate app in Chrome. Didn't really understand what it was. You had concepts such as seed words that didn't know what that was. So basically, at the initial testing phase, we had to go through a lot of regurgitating and fine-tuning, trying to describe to non-crypto audience what these concepts were. So basically, we started off from nobody from the 40-person pool being able to actually enter and bind the MetaMask in the first place. And we gradually increased upon that figure by quite a substantial amount. So improving the guidance, the tutorial, the timing of the MetaMask binding, incentivizing to move with us, did bring us a lot of change. So basically, for the 3 rounds of testing that we went through, we started off with nobody being able to actually bind a MetaMask to over half the people actually being able to do that. And as a live service, we are getting roughly 88% onboarding. Obviously, the crypto audience is helping that with a lot, but I think it's something that it was time well spent for us. Another aspect is UI improvements. So this isn't something that you can figure out. It needs to be meticulously tested. So basically, we rearrange and reorganize all of our text and buttons and functions within the site, depending on the importance of the function, the frequency of usage, and etc. Another aspect that we overlooked was the crypto terminology itself. I mean, MetaMask, non-fungible tokens. It was very silly to have thought that people understood this concept. Even the word blockchain, it was a blocker. People didn't understand. So we had to rewrite all of our tutorial and guide text into a simple English language that everybody could really understand. Oh, that's the UI improvement. I'll just quickly go over that. And we also adopted your traditional payment methods. So we have PayPal and MORPL, or Razorpay right now, on board. So people who have got pocket changes, US dollars in their pockets, they can actually buy game items through those payment gateways. And we've seen very positive numbers. It's not huge compared to a traditional gaming market, but over the first month, we had about 15,000 US dollars through these traditional channels. So we want to see how this progresses as we do mass promotion, mass marketing. So more non-gamers are coming into our platform. And hopefully, we are also, depending on our partner, Samsung and Kakao, so we'll be on both of their blockchain crypto platform. We've actually launched the Samsung version a couple of days ago, but it's not readily available in all the territories. You can have it if you have a Galaxy S10 in the US, Japan, I think, a few other territories. Oh, sorry, I think my time's up. But just one concept I want to iterate is basically, as I mentioned in the beginning, we want to build a portfolio of games that could intertie with each other. So basically, play CryptoDozer, gain a chest, gain a character, and then you can actually move on to a second game. It's a take of Flappy Bird, so another intuitive aspect game. You could actually gain some keys and go back to the first game and start unlocking loot boxes where you gain more advantage and more loot. And hopefully we will be deploying our SDK by the end of this year. So we don't have all the answers. We don't know where the market's going to go. We don't know the trend. We can't predict it. We don't dare to predict it. But we want a lot of third-party, even traditional game developers, coming on, onboarding, and trying to figure this out with us. So I think that's the end of my presentation. My door's always open as always. So you could just give me any suggestions or any advice or any input. We welcome any time of day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.